Thousands marched in Nuuk to oppose Trump's interest in taking over Greenland in what officials say is the biggest protest in the history of the island.
Iran's supreme leader has directly accused Donald Trump for the death of thousands of protesters during the country's unrest. After 25 years in the making, the EU finally signed the controversial Mercosur trade deal on Saturday.
Thousands marched in Greenland's capital Nuuk across snow and ice on Saturday to take a stand against U.S. President Donald Trump and his declared interest in taking over the island. Just as they finished their trek to the U.S. consulate, in adverse weather conditions, the news of Trump announcing a 10% tariff on 8 European countries who defend Greenland's sovereignty broke. Trump on Saturday announced that beginning next month, all of Denmark, Sweden, Finland, Germany, France, the UK and the Netherlands will face a tariff on their exported goods, which could rise to 25% by June. The US president said the tariff will apply until, quote, a deal is reached for the complete and total purchase of Greenland. Greenlanders denounced the move, with some protesters slamming Trump for being arrogant and, quote, a very big bully. Trump has sought the takeover of the mineral-rich Arctic nation, part of the Danish throne, since his first term in office. Upon his return to the Oval Office, those calls were amplified, gaining more weight after a U.S. military intervention in Venezuela earlier this month, which many countries say was a violation of international law.
Iran's supreme leader has pointed the finger directly at US President Donald Trump as responsible for the death toll during the protests currently rocking the country. So far, more than 3,400 people have been killed, according to activists, but Tehran does not acknowledge these statistics. In a speech during the Eid al-Mabah celebrations, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei insisted that the violent unrest in Iran is the result of, quote, American sedition. He then went on to say that his country will not go to war, but neither would it spare criminals. The Iranian government is in the midst of an unprecedented crisis since demonstrations began on the 28th of December, with no end in sight.
A fire broke out at an energy facility in the southern Ukrainian region of Odessa following a Russian attack carried out overnight into Saturday. The country's state emergency service says the strike caused damage to buildings and vehicles, but confirmed that there were no casualties. More than 30 firefighters worked in the early hours of Saturday to put out the blaze. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky slammed the Kremlin for its continued targeting of energy sites, which he says is a deliberate tactic to increase civilian suffering. In a post on X, the Ukrainian leader noted that he held a, quote, special energy coordination call to discuss ways to bolster defenses of energy sites and minimize harm to civilians. He also pleaded for more weapons to beef up his embattled country's air defenses, stressing that Kyiv's intelligence finds evidence that Russia's plotting massive attacks in the near future.
After 25 years of talks, the EU has finally signed a major trade deal with South America's Mercosur nations. These include Argentina, Brazil, Paraguay and Uruguay. The deal will create a free trade zone of roughly 700 million people, gradually eliminating about 90% of tariffs across the industrial, services and agricultural sectors.
We choose fair trade over tariffs. We choose a productive, long-term partnership over isolation.
Supporters of the deal, such as Germany and Spain, argue that the EU needs new trade ties away from the US and China. Critics, such as France, say the deal threatens European farmers by exposing them to unfair competition from Latin American imports.